Hi, I'm outside. And I was reflecting on a sermon that I heard from Bishop T.D. Jakes. And I'm going to preface this by saying that I'm not a religious person. I believe in God. I love to read and understand religious text. I love to look for the commonplaces across them, and I believe that there is a God. I believe that there is many ways to get there, but we're all going to the same point. That's how I view religion, and religion is the roads that people choose to get there. So in this sermon, I believe the sermon was called Hard Places. And T.D. Jakes was talking about Moses, how the Hebrew people that he came to lead turned on him. And although Moses was anointed and he was successful and he was loved by God and used by God in beautiful, powerful ways, Moses was suffering an identity crisis. So I'll give you a little backstory on Moses. Moses was Hebrew. He was a Hebrew man. As a child, he survived and was raised as an Egyptian and with the Egyptians. So Moses was not Egyptian, and he wasn't accepted by the Hebrew people. And this caused Moses to have an identity crisis, because above all else, above the love of God and all the things he was doing, he wanted to be accepted more than anything by his people. And Bishop speaks on the fact that they rejected him, that it caused him to find his hard place. And his hard place was his heart place, because he wanted more than anything to be loved and accepted by his people. And the fact that Moses was so successful, he was not treated as human. And I was thinking about how I relate to that story. And I'll share with you that as a child, I grew up in New Orleans, Louisiana. And if people are familiar with New Orleans people, they have very thick accents. And as a little kid, I was always teased because I never really had a thick accent. I was teased that I talked white. And the funny part about that is not really funny. But the funny part about that is that I grew up around no white people. As a little kid, my family, an extended family, was who I grew up with. So I know what it feels like to be on the outside, to want nothing more than to be accepted and embraced. And after I became an adult, I spent most of my time and energy trying to prove that I belonged, to prove to people that I was New Orleans, that I was born and raised there, that all of my ancestors, as far as I can remember, as far as they remembered, were there. See, like Moses, my hard place has always been my heart place. And my heart place has always been connected with identity and belonging. But what I learned from people like Bishop T.D. Jakes and Bishop Sarah Jakes and Buddhism and Islam and so many amazing teachers. I could probably list off 30 people that I have learned from. Well-known and some unknown. Some who identify as teachers, some who do not. And many of them don't even know that they taught me. What I have learned is that seeking belonging is human. See, they treated Moses as if he was not human, but he was, and he wanted to belong. So his heart hurt. And my heart spent many years hurting to belong in my family, to belong in my neighborhood, to belong in my schools, to belong on the team, to belong at the job, to find a place amongst people who I identify with. Because like Moses, although he was raised with the Egyptians, he still identified himself as Hebrew. And he still, as much success as he experienced, he still sought their approval, love, and acceptance. And I'm inspired by Moses because you can love God, you can love yourself, you can do the work, you can pray, you can meditate, you can go to therapy, you can do all the yoga and all the Tai Chi and all the Qigong and all the breath work in the world. And that feeling of wanting to belong still lingers. Beautiful butterfly. So, realizing the power in that, the power in realizing that that feeling still lingers in the backdrop of your heart, realizing that is an opening to deepen your relationship with yourself, to deepen your relationship with God, and to clear out the gunk that other people have put on you that says that you don't belong, that you're not one of them. Because the truth of the matter is that maybe you're not one of them. Maybe you're not. Maybe You talk different from your family because you're being prepared for where you're going to be, not where you are. Maybe you act differently than your family because you're being prepared for where you're going to be, not where you are. You're not bound to one place. You're not bound to one way of thinking or one way of being or one way of speaking. Maybe you've been expanded. Maybe you're on the outside to bring people to you. I know it's difficult at times to be an outsider, to feel different, or to be treated differently than what you know or where you come from. And I encourage you, just like I encourage myself, to shift your thinking to a higher mindset, to the possibility that you're different for a reason, that you don't fit in for a reason. And the reason is not to hurt you or to break you or to isolate you, but the reason is to grow you, to strengthen you. The reason is so you can have the strength to stand alone, to stand outside the crowd, to think outside the box, to be okay with having opinions or thoughts that are different from the masses. Because remember, Moses was a great leader. Most great leaders do not fit in. If your hard space is your heart space, I encourage you to be gentle with yourself. To encourage yourself through the isolation, and to find a way to have a high mindset, to know that all things are working for your good. And that hard place that is your heart space really means that your heart place is soft and has the potential to be expansive. I hope that makes sense to someone. I hope that encourages someone. And I encourage you to take care. Take care of your hard places that are within you. Be tender with them, nurture them so they can expand into soft places. And be as expansive as the heart space is meant to be. Take care.